I financed our happy family while my wife relaxed with her lover in the Maldives. I always believed in hard work. It wasn't just about making money. It was about building a future, ensuring stability, creating a life where my family never had to struggle. That was my purpose. That was what kept me going through long hours at the office, sleepless nights planning projects, and the endless cycle of deadlines and responsibilities. And I thought my wife, Lisa, understood that. We'd been married for 9 years. From the outside, we looked like the perfect couple. 2 successful professionals, a beautiful home, and a wonderful 6-year-old daughter, Emily. I worked in finance, pulling in a substantial salary, while Lisa, an interior designer, had the luxury of picking only the projects she truly wanted. It was a balance that seemed to work, or so I thought. The first crack in our perfect marriage appeared subtly, barely noticeable amidst the humdrum of daily life. It was the little things. Lisa's newfound obsession with her phone, the way she would smile at incoming messages and immediately turn the screen away when I walked into the room. The sudden, almost overnight change in her wardrobe. More elegant, more youthful, more daring. And then there was the travel. Lisa had always loved vacations, but our busy schedules often meant we could only afford to take a couple of trips a year. Lately, though, she'd been going on business retreats more frequently, trips that always seemed to be in luxurious, exotic locations. Thailand, Greece, Italy, and then the most extravagant one yet, the Maldives. She called it a self-care getaway, said she needed a break, time to relax, to recharge so she could be a better wife and mother. I didn't argue. After all, I was working myself to the bone to provide this kind of life for her. If she needed a vacation to reset, who was I to deny her? But then I started noticing the discrepancies. The credit card bills showed transactions at high-end restaurants and boutique stores, places Lisa never mentioned visiting. The charges for luxury spas and yacht rentals didn't add up, especially considering she had told me she was staying at a quiet wellness resort. And then there was the most damning clue of all, the second plane ticket. One night, while I was up late working on a financial report, I decided to log in to our shared airline account to check the miles we'd accumulated. That was when I saw it. A reservation for 2. Not just for the Maldives, but for every business retreat she had taken over the past year. My heart pounded. I stared at the screen, willing it to be some kind of mistake, a system glitch, anything but the truth that was beginning to unravel before me. Lisa wasn't on a self-care retreat. She wasn't going on solo business trips. She was with someone else, and I was the idiot funding every moment of it. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, all I could see was Lisa, wrapped in the arms of a man named Jason, sipping champagne on some private beach, completely unbothered by the life she had left behind, the life I had worked so damn hard to build. The next morning, I did something I never thought I would do. I hired a private investigator. I found him through a colleague at work, a man who had gone through a nasty divorce and had nothing but praise for this PI. Discreet, efficient, and ruthless, he had told me. That was exactly what I needed. I met the investigator, a grizzled man named Mark, in a small, dimly lit coffee shop across town. He listened without interrupting as I laid everything out. The suspicious trips, the hidden transactions, the second plane ticket, and Jason. When I was finished, Mark leaned back in his chair and folded his arms. "You already did half my job for me," he said with a smirk. "But don't worry, I'll get you what you need." 2 days later, Mark sent me the first batch of photos. Lisa and Jason laughing together at an outdoor cafe, her hand resting on his arm in a way that was far too familiar, walking along a boardwalk, her head on his shoulder, checking into a luxury resort. I scrolled through the images, my stomach twisting with every new one. She looked happy, radiant even. Had I ever made her smile like that? I clenched my fists, forcing myself to push the emotions aside. This wasn't about sadness anymore. This was about justice. Mark's final report came with everything I needed. Dates, locations, bank statements, even a copy of an email Lisa had sent to Jason, where she called him the best thing that ever happened to her. I stared at those words, numb. I had given her everything, and I was nothing to her. I exhaled sharply, setting the report down. No more hesitation, no more second guessing. Lisa would come home in 3 days, and when she did, she would find out just how much I knew. The next 3 days felt like an eternity. Every moment Lisa was away, I was trapped inside my own head, reliving every conversation we'd ever had, every lie she told me, every time she looked me in the eye and pretended to love me while secretly building a life with someone else. I still had to function, still had to go to work, still had to be a father to Emily. But inside, I was unraveling. I watched my daughter as she played with her dolls in the living room, completely unaware that the foundation of her little world was about to shatter. It wasn't just my marriage that Lisa had betrayed. It was our family. That night, as I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, I replayed every possible way our confrontation could go. Would she deny it? Would she cry and beg for forgiveness? Would she try to twist it around, make it seem like it was my fault? I didn't know, but I was ready for anything. Lisa's flight landed at 4 p.m. on Sunday. I didn't go to the airport to pick her up. Let Jason do that, if he was so inclined. Instead, I stayed home waiting. At 5:30, the front door swung open and Lisa stepped inside, dragging her designer suitcase behind her. She looked tanned, refreshed, and completely oblivious to the fact that her world was about to crash down around her. "Hey, babe," she called out casually, as if she hadn't just spent the past 10 days in paradise with another man. "I'm home." I stood in the kitchen, leaning against the counter, arms crossed. My heart was pounding, but I kept my face neutral. Lisa walked in and smiled at me, her expression bright and effortless. "God, I needed that trip," she sighed. "The spa treatments, the ocean, just, perfection." I stayed silent. She glanced at me, finally sensing that something was off. "What's wrong?" she asked, setting her handbag on the counter. I tilted my head slightly, watching her. "Did you have a good time?" She hesitated. Yeah? With Jason?" Her entire body went still. For a moment, she didn't even breathe. Then, in a voice so thin it was almost a whisper, she said, "What?" I stepped away from the counter and tossed a thick folder onto the kitchen island. It landed with a heavy thud. "Go ahead," I said. "Open it." Lisa's hands trembled as she reached for the folder. She flipped it open, and her tan complexion paled as she took in the contents. Photographs, transaction records, email printouts. Every single lie she had told me, neatly documented in black and white. She swallowed hard. Don't," I cut her off. "Don't even try. I know everything." She opened her mouth, then closed it again. A flicker of something passed through her eyes. Shock, guilt, maybe even fear. I waited. Seconds stretched into eternity before she finally spoke. It wasn't supposed to be like this," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I laughed, a dry, humorless sound. "Oh? Then how was it supposed to be, Lisa?" She looked down, shaking her head. "I never meant to hurt you." "That's rich," I said coldly. "You didn't mean to hurt me, but you had no problem spending my money on your little boyfriend, huh?" She winced, and I saw the first hint of real panic in her eyes. "I can explain." "Don't." My voice was sharp, final. "I don't want your explanations. I don't want your excuses. I want to know one thing. How long?" Lisa bit her lip, her hands gripping the counter like she needed to steady herself. "A year," she admitted quietly. "A year. An entire year. 12 months of lying, sneaking around, playing happy wife while using me as an ATM." I exhaled slowly, forcing myself to stay calm. "So tell me," I said, "what was the plan? Keep this going until I found out? Divorce me when Jason was ready to play house? Or were you just going to ride this out until I was too drained to even notice?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "I don't know," she whispered. I stared at her, feeling nothing but disgust. That's the most honest thing you've said in a long time. For a long moment, we just stood there in silence. Then Lisa reached out, as if she was going to touch my arm. I do love you, she said desperately. I stepped back before she could make contact. No, Lisa, I said, my voice like ice. You love what I gave you, what I provided. You don't love me. Her face crumpled. Please, we can fix this. I shook my head. There's no we anymore. Lisa's breath hitched. You don't mean that. I met her eyes unflinching. I do. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt something close to peace. Lisa stood frozen, her eyes locked onto mine, searching for something. Sympathy, forgiveness, a way out. But she would find none of that here. Her lips trembled. We have a daughter, she whispered. You can't just throw everything away. A sharp, bitter laugh escaped my throat. Throw everything away? Lisa, you did that the moment you booked a romantic vacation with another man using my money. She flinched like I had slapped her. I was unhappy. Then why didn't you leave? I snapped. Why not tell me you were done instead of lying to my face for an entire year? Tears spilled down her cheeks. Because I didn't want to lose everything. I shook my head, disgusted. You already have. Lisa pressed her hands against the counter, struggling for control. We can go to therapy. We can fix this. I let out a slow, measured breath, my anger burning cold now. There is no we to fix, Lisa. You made sure of that. She was trembling now, panic setting in. What? What are you going to do? I picked up the folder and tucked it under my arm. I'm filing for divorce first thing Monday morning. Her breath hitched. No, wait. I already contacted a lawyer. I cut her off. Since you decided to use our shared money for your affair, I'll make sure you don't get a single extra cent from me in the divorce. Her face drained of color. But I signed a prenup. I smirked. Exactly. Lisa had fought me on that prenup years ago, said it made her feel like I didn't trust her. But I insisted, not because I thought she'd cheat. God, I had been so blind. But because I had worked too hard to build my career from nothing to risk losing it all in a worst-case scenario. Now, that prenup was my best weapon. Lisa staggered back, her hand covering her mouth. You're serious? As serious as you were when you checked into that resort with Jason. She looked like she wanted to say something else, but I didn't care anymore. I was done. I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there alone in the kitchen where she used to cook our family dinners, in the house that was no longer her home. I headed straight for Emily's room. She was sitting on the floor, coloring a picture of a princess in a castle. When she looked up and saw me, she smiled, completely unaware of the chaos happening just beyond her door. Hey, Daddy, she chirped. Look what I made. I knelt beside her and studied the picture. It's beautiful, sweetheart. She beamed. It's you and me in a castle, and Mommy too. My heart clenched. She was too young to understand what was about to happen. And no matter how much I despised Lisa in this moment, I wouldn't let Emily suffer because of it. I smoothed a hand over her hair. Hey, Em. Yeah? I swallowed hard, forcing my voice to stay steady. How would you like to have a special day with Daddy tomorrow? Just the two of us? Her face lit up. Can we get ice cream? As much as you want. She giggled, throwing her arms around my neck. You're the best, Daddy. I hugged her tight, closing my eyes. I love you, sweetheart. Lisa may have shattered our marriage, but she wouldn't take my daughter from me. She had already lost me. She wouldn't take Emily, too. The divorce was messy, but quick. Thanks to the prenup, Lisa got nothing for my assets. She fought for custody of Emily, but the court ruled in my favor. Her infidelity, neglect of our family, and misuse of our shared finances worked against her. She was granted visitation rights, but full custody remained with me. For a while after she left, the house felt empty. the silence was strange, almost eerie, but with each passing day I realized I could breathe easier. I no longer woke up in the middle of the night with a knot in my stomach. I no longer checked her social media, searching for lies. I was just living. Emily kept me moving forward. We spent more time together, going to parks, building pillow forts, making her favorite pancakes on weekends. I worked less because I no longer had to support two people. Then, a year after the divorce, I met her. Sarah owned a small book cafe near my office. We met when Emily dragged me inside for hot chocolate. She was kind, real. Her laughter was warm and her eyes were honest. I took my time. I no longer believed in fairy tales about perfect love. But with each passing day I realized real love doesn't need to be hidden. It doesn't make you doubt or hurt. 2 years after the divorce, on a quiet Sunday morning, as Emily ran between the cafe tables and Sarah poured me coffee, I realized I was finally free. Free from lies, free from the past, and most importantly, I was happy.